The incredible moment my son cried, "Where will we live?" after a life-changing decision. The night air was thick with uncertainty when Sarah mustered the courage to share her fears with Tommy. After a grueling 12-hour shift at the hospital, she collapsed on their worn couch, the familiar scent of his baby shampoo still lingering in the air. The living room, once alive with laughter, now felt heavy. She took a deep breath. "Tommy, honey, we might have to move," she said, her voice trembling. Silence wrapped around them like a shroud. Tommy's bright eyes widened in confusion, and then he crumpled into heartbreak. "Where will we live?" His innocent question echoed like a distant gunshot in the quiet room, piercing Sarah's heart. She wanted to shield him from the world's harshness, but there was no hiding from this reality. Tears streamed down his face, and she felt them too, as despair clawed at her insides. "I don't want to leave, Mom," he sobbed. It was a gut-wrenching moment, the kind that stirs something primal in you. Sarah wanted to scream at the unfairness of it all. As she wiped his tears away, a spark ignited within her, a fire fueled by love that could defy all odds. Determined not to let life's challenges dim their dreams, she reached out to her neighbors, her makeshift family in this bustling suburb. They gathered around her, sharing their own tales of perseverance, battles fought against the tide. Resistance surged through her veins as she witnessed their kindness blossom in unexpected ways, enveloping her in renewed hope. Yet, outside their walls, judgment loomed. It seeped through the whispers of a few, those who could not see past her struggles, those who labeled her less than. Their narrowed gazes chipped at her confidence, but each chisel hit harder when her responsibility to Tommy was at stake. He deserved so much more. As eviction notices piled up like shadows in the corner of her heart, Sarah organized a fundraiser at the local community center, praying for a glimmer of support. The evening unfolded into a splendid tapestry of laughter, music, and warmth, igniting a sense of belonging. Friends and strangers alike came together, united by kindness. It was beautiful, the kind of hope that wraps around you and whispers you're not alone. But doubt danced in the corners of her mind as each smile felt like a fragile, flickering candle. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. When the community's kindness began to warm the cracks in her heart, disaster struck. A letter from the landlord, a threat looming over their heads like a storm cloud promising devastation. It read like an icy hand squeezing her heart. Options slipped away like grains of sand through her fingers. Just when she thought she could breathe, dread washed over her once more. As Sarah looked at Tommy, joy beginning to fade from his expressive eyes, she felt his fears seep into her soul. Standing at the precipice of what might be lost, she grappled with a chilling truth. Could love alone conquer the rising tide of their struggles? With uncertainty brimming and hope flickering, she braced herself for the battle ahead. Would they find a way to stay in the place where memories were made, or would they be forced to leave it all behind? The fiery pulse of determination clashed with her heart-wrenching doubt. The outcome of their story hung in the balance, an echo of resilience waiting to be written. The days dragged on like a heavy fog settling over Sarah and Tommy. Each morning she faced the mirror, wondering if this was the day she'd find a solution, a glimmer of hope to ease her son's fears. The weight of the eviction notice pressed on her chest like a boulder. Every bill hung over their heads, an ominous reminder of their precarious survival. At the community center, the fundraiser had sparked a flame, but the winds of fate blew cold. She could already sense the dwindling warmth of generosity. Sarah spent her evenings rifling through old boxes, searching for items she might sell. A past life filled with moments of laughter and joy, now reduced to things that could save their future. "Mom, do we have to sell the drum?" Tommy asked one afternoon, holding a small, battered instrument he had saved for years. The same drum his father had given him before life turned into a roller coaster of hardships. Seeing the big, hopeful eyes of her son tugged relentlessly at her heartstrings. "No, Star, we're going to keep that," she replied, her voice steady but her heart throbbing. "It's what makes you, you. We can sell other things." Tommy nodded, but the uncertainty flickered in his gaze. She saw it, the need for stability, the craving for permanence in a world feeling unbalanced. She couldn't snuff out that spark, so she turned it into a plan. If they were to fight this, they needed to gather strength, their own and that of the community around them. With Tommy's school play coming up, the thought struck her. "What if we make it a fundraiser?" she squeaked out, a rush of determination spilling from her lips. "The kids can sell snacks, and we can all pitch in to help families in need." Tommy's face lit up with excitement. "We can do it! It'll be fun!" As they brainstormed together, a cascade of inspiration washed over them. Sarah went out to other parents, teachers, and local businesses. Flyers went up, and slowly the community buzzed with chatter. The night of the show arrived, and the auditorium sparkled with life. Families crowded into seats, and laughter filled the air. Sarah felt a swell of pride as she watched Tommy backstage, peering out at the audience, his spirit bubbling with excitement. As the curtain opened, the performances unfolded, an exquisite mix of talent, some rough around the edges, others shining like stars. When Tommy took the stage as a tiny, determined hero, his smile lit up the room. Those moments shifted something inside, igniting a deep-rooted fire of hope. But as they celebrated the small victories, the landlord's shadow still loomed large. Despite their efforts, the reality of their circumstances persisted. As they left the auditorium, Sarah received a text that sent dread writhing through her stomach. "We need to talk about your lease," it read. Is it really possible for hope to flourish amidst the weeds of despair? As they walked home, hand in hand, uncertainty wrapped around them tighter than a favorite blanket, pressing them to confront the truth waiting just ahead. Would their community stand as a shield, or would they be left standing alone in the storm? The chill of the night air wrapped around Sarah and Tommy as they made their way home. The glow of streetlights flickered overhead, casting long shadows that danced alongside them, just like the uncertainty dancing in Sarah's mind. That text loomed large, a weight that threatened to crush the fragile hope she had clung to during the play. "Mom?" Tommy's voice broke the silence, trembling slightly. "What did the text say?" Her heart sank. How could she explain the reality of their situation without crushing his spirit? "Just some business stuff we need to sort out, honey. Nothing we can't handle," she replied, forcing a smile for his sake. He looked up, his brow furrowed. "Are we in trouble again?" "No, we're okay." The words felt more like a prayer than a fact. She wanted, desperately, to believe them. When they arrived home, the cramped apartment greeted them with muted familiarity. The boxes still lay stacked in the corner, reminders of their struggles. The lopsided table bore plates washed in the glow of the late evening light. It looked so ordinary, yet it felt like a stage where every day brought yet another performance. Tommy flopped onto their worn couch, the very same spot where laughter used to echo during family movie nights. "Will the show help?" he asked, his eyes wide, searching for reassurance. Sarah sat beside him, wrapping an arm around his shoulder. It helped us pull together, didn't it? And maybe, just maybe, it will open some doors. A shadow of doubt crossed Tommy's face. But what if we lose our home, Mom? His voice quivered, and Sarah felt her heart clench. The room fell silent. She kissed the top of his head, feeling the tears prick at her eyes. We won't lose it, Tommy. I promise. We have friends and family. The words felt like flimsy paper against a raging storm, but she forged ahead, driven by his wide-eyed need to believe in her. But deep down, Sarah could feel the dread swirling. The landlord's text had been a stark reminder. The reality was unforgiving. Her resolve slipped momentarily as she remembered how the eviction notice made her heart race. Would they have to pack everything up soon? The thought chilled her. "Can we go out for ice cream?" Tommy blurted suddenly, breaking the tension like a small bolt of lightning. "It'll make everything feel better." She chuckled softly, even as her heart ached. "Ice cream? At this hour?" "Please, for luck," he insisted, his enthusiasm bubbling back up. With a sigh, Sarah found herself nodding. "Okay, but just a quick trip." As they wandered to the diner, Tommy chatted about the play, his imaginations painting bright pictures of heroes and villains, laughter resonating in the air like music. But when the familiar footstep of their landlord loomed behind them at the door, the joy faded into the background. "Sarah," he called, frustration edged across his face. "I need to talk to you now." Tommy's eyes widened, confusion washing over his features. "Does he want more money?" Sarah knelt beside him, lowering her voice. "Just stay out here, okay? I'll be right back." As she approached the urgent tone of their landlord, her insides twisted into knots. In that moment, facing the man who wielded their fate, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that a pivotal decision hung in the air. What the landlord would say next could change everything. Would it be a lifeline or a storm tearing apart what little peace they clung to? As she stepped toward him, Sarah braced herself. The moment of truth had arrived. Would she find the courage for whatever was to come? "Sarah," the landlord said, his voice heavy with something that felt like a storm brewing. She could see the tension in his jaw, the way he rubbed his neck, as if he were struggling with heavy weights on his shoulders. Words hung between them, thick and suffocating. "What's going on?" she asked, her own heart racing. This wasn't just a casual chat. She could sense it. "I need to know about the rent," he started, his gaze darting to the ground like a guilty child caught in a lie. "You were a few days late last month, and, well, things have been tight for me too." Each word pierced through her like a jagged knife. The weight of his concern mirrored her own worries. "I understand," she said, forcing the words out, even as her own fears clawed at her insides. "But I promise we'll have it by the end of the week. I just need a little more time." He shifted his weight, looking uncertain. "You see, it isn't just about a month. I'm on a tight schedule with payments. If you can't make it work, I don't know how else to say it, Sarah, but I may have to consider other options." Her chest tightened. "You're saying we could lose our home?" Her voice quivered as the weight of those words hung in the night air. He exhaled deeply, and she noticed the softening in his eyes, though the resolve of a landlord under pressure reigned. "I don't want that for you and your son. I really don't. But I can't keep covering for you. I'm trying. I just need some assurance that you two will be okay." Suddenly, a sob constricted Sarah's throat. She thought of Tommy waiting just outside, blissfully unaware, his laughter echoing in her mind. How could she let this happen to him? "Please, just a few more days. That's all I'm asking for." The landlord hesitated, the lines on his forehead deepening as he weighed her words. "I'll give you the weekend, but that's the best I can do. If you don't have it by then, we'll need to talk again." "Thank you." She meant it, but despite her gratitude, the dread hung heavy. As she turned back, she felt the weight of his gaze on her retreating form, as if he could see right through the facade she wore like armor. Outside, Tommy was bouncing on the balls of his feet, a wide grin plastered on his face. Did he need to talk about the ice cream? Are we going? Kind of, she said, managing a tight smile that didn't reach her eyes. He really wanted this treat, and she realized she needed to distract him. How about a little surprise? Let's head somewhere special. Really? Like where? His wide-eyed excitement flooded over her like sunshine struggling to break through heavy clouds. A place that makes the best sundaes in town, she said, her voice brightening as she clasped his hand tightly, pulling him along. The walk felt longer than before, her heart racing with a mix of fear and determination. A plan was forming in her mind, but it wouldn't be enough to silence the whisper of doubt. As they approached the diner, the neon lights buzzing to life around them, Tommy squealed with delight. But Sarah couldn't quite shake off the weight she still carried. Could she really make it work? Would they find a way to stay rooted in their home? Once inside, the smell of fried food and sugary desserts wrapped around them like a warm hug. Looking at Tommy as he gazed at the menu, eyes sparkling with anticipation, she felt a flicker of hope, perhaps. But just as she began to relax, her phone buzzed in her pocket, the screen illuminating with another text. This one was from an unknown number. Her pulse quickened, and she swallowed hard. The words were looming over her like a storm cloud gathering strength. Would it bring relief or another challenge that could shake their already tenuous stability? With every nerve tingling, she hesitated, her heart racing as she prepared to read the message. What now? Sarah's fingers trembled as she stared at the message. It felt like the ground beneath her was tipping, her fears swarming like an angry swarm of bees. She took a deep breath, calming her nerves, then tapped the screen. Your application for the job at Waters & Co. has been reviewed. We would like to invite you for an interview next week. Please confirm your availability. A wave of relief washed over her. This job could be the lifeline she needed, a way to keep their home and give Tommy the stability he deserved. But then a knot formed in her stomach. What if it didn't work out? What if she couldn't juggle both responsibilities? Mom, can we order? Tommy's excited voice broke her train of thought. His eyes were still glued to the sundae options, mouth-watering in anticipation. Of course, she said, forcing a smile. What do you want? He bounced in his seat, his energy contagious. The triple chocolate fudge sundae. He giggled, and for a moment, Sarah let herself be swept away by his joy. This was the happiness she fought for, the simple moments that made life beautiful despite their struggles. As they placed their order and waited for their treats, Sarah's mind raced. She thought about the interview, the responsibilities of being a mother, a tenant, and the hope that flickered like a candle in a dark room. She needed to prepare. They needed that promise fulfilled by the weekend. But could she really land the job? What if the landlord didn't wait for her to catch up? Her stomach twisted again as a wave of panic threatened to pull her under. The waitress brought their sundaes, each piled high with whipped cream and a cherry on top. Sarah watched as Tommy's eyes lit up at the towering desserts. His laughter melted her tensions just a bit, but the storm still brewed within her. "Look, Mom, it's a mountain of ice cream," he exclaimed, grabbing his spoon with both hands. As she watched him dig in, her thoughts turned darker. What if they lost the little things they enjoyed, the sundaes, the laughter, the warmth of their home? "Mom?" Tommy's voice suddenly quivered as he looked up from his sundae. "What happens if we can't pay for our house? Where will we live?" His innocent question pierced her heart. In that moment, the world around them faded. He couldn't grasp the gravity of what they might face, and yet his worry hung in the air like a thundercloud. "Hey," she said softly, forcing her face to be steady. "No matter what, we'll be okay, I promise." But deep down, the uncertainty gnawed at her, reminding her of the looming deadline. Tommy frowned, his small face filled with concern. "But what if we have to go somewhere else?" Hot tears pricked the corners of her eyes. She wanted to hide him from it all, yet here it was, right in front of them, unavoidable. "We won't," she said more fiercely, desperately masking her own fears with strength. "I'll do everything I can, I promise." He took another bite, and for a moment she could see him relaxing, but she couldn't shake her own anxieties. As they finished their Sundays, Sarah felt the weight of the weekend looming ever closer. Soon, reality would crash in like a tidal wave. Tommy bounced in his chair, completely unbothered, but as she looked into his bright eyes, her resolve strengthened. "I'll make this work," she vowed to herself, though dark thoughts still crept in and fear loomed just at the edges of her mind. The night wore on until Tommy's eyelids began to droop, the excitement of the Sunday slowly fading into comfortable silence. They walked home hand in hand, her mind running through potential plans, paths, and fears. As they reached their doorstep, her phone buzzed again. Another text. This one, also from an unknown number, flashed ominously on the screen. "You need to talk to us about the payments." Her heart sank at the thought of further complications. What would happen next? She turned to look at Tommy, his sleepy face shining in the dim light. How could she protect him from the storm that was coming? With the door behind her, she took a deep breath, readying herself for the battle ahead. But could she face it alone? The weight of the world was pressing down, and the future felt as uncertain as a flickering flame. What would she decide, and would it be enough? Inside the house, the air was thick with silence. Tommy shuffled to his room, his body exhausted from the excitement of the day. Sarah followed, each step feeling like a reminder of the uncertainty that loomed over them. She watched as he changed into his pajamas, his small frame folding into the familiarity of the routine. "Good night, Mom," he chirped, his innocence shining through, even as the shadows of worry clung to her like a second skin. She kissed him on the forehead, holding on to that moment, wanting to freeze time, to feel the warmth of his trust. "Sweet dreams, buddy," she replied, forcing a smile through the heaviness in her heart. In the dim light of the hallway, Sarah leaned against the wall, her mind spinning. As she replayed the messages, a sense of urgency gripped her. The clock kept ticking down to that interview, yet the other text gnawed at her, echoing with ominous tones. "You need to talk to us about the payments." Those words didn't leave her. She felt a fading sense of control slide through her fingers. Clenching her jaw, she typed a quick reply asking for more details about the payments. But deep down, she knew the answer would not be comforting. After pushing the send button, she slumped down onto the couch, letting the exhaustion seep into her bones. The room around her was quiet, save for the ticking of the clock, a constant reminder of the moments passing. What if the landlord was losing patience? What if that ominous text was just the beginning? Her phone buzzed again, almost jolting her out of her thoughts. She reached for it with a fluttering heart, hoping for something good, but the response was brief, an appointment to meet the landlord in 2 days. Her heart sank again, as if it had dropped into her stomach. 2 days? That wasn't enough time. Fear tightened around her, as if a vice was closing in. She pulled out her laptop, trying to distract herself from the growing panic. As she scrolled through job postings, her eyes landed on something that felt like a beacon of hope. A job at a local nonprofit that focused on community outreach. It didn't pay much, but it might be a good opportunity for her to get back on her feet. With trembling fingers, she applied, pouring every ounce of her determination into her hope. "I will make this work," she whispered, channeling everything she had into her hope. She hit send and sat back, letting out a breath she didn't know she was holding. But as she settled into her thoughts, doubt crept back in. Would it be enough? What if she didn't get either job? Would the landlord really take the house away? Sarah stood, feeling the walls closing in around her. "I can't let Tommy think all of this," she thought, clenching her fists. She glanced at the door to Tommy's room, remembering the way worry had etched itself into his small face while they had shared their Sundays. "Mom," Tommy's voice broke through her thoughts. She opened the door to find him peering out, wide-eyed. "Can I sleep with you tonight?" For a moment, warmth filled her. "Of course, kiddo." They climbed onto the couch together, and as he nestled into her side, their breathing synced. The weight of the world felt lighter, even if only for that moment. But sleep evaded Sarah. She found herself staring at the ceiling, her mind racing with what lay ahead. The interview was only a few days away, alongside the landlord's deadline. The thought of facing both terrified her, but Tommy's gentle breath beside her anchored her. If she didn't fight for them, who would? And just as she began to find a sliver of hope, her phone buzzed again. A notification from the landlord, this time even more urgent. "We need to meet. Don't miss this." Her heart raced as she looked down at the screen. What awaited her on the other side of that meeting? Uncertainty churned inside her as she gripped her phone tightly. Could one decision change everything for them? The moment of truth was coming, and Sarah was left wondering if she would rise to meet it or if it would consume her whole. The next morning brought an eerie stillness. Sunlight peeked through the curtains, casting patterns on the floor that felt oddly comforting. Sarah had managed to doze off briefly, but the worries flooded back as soon as she opened her eyes. Tommy was still asleep beside her, the rise and fall of his chest a reminder of the innocence she wanted to protect. She quietly slipped out of the couch, her heart heavy. As she tiptoed into the kitchen, the aroma of coffee filled the air, a temporary comfort. But the mug felt too heavy in her hands, shaking slightly as she brought it to her lips. The warmth was nice, but it didn't banish the chill of anxiety that settled in her bones. After a few sips, she decided that a distraction was necessary. She opened her laptop, the screen illuminating her face with a glow that felt colder than it should. She checked her email, hoping for a response from the nonprofit. Nothing. Just bills, reminders, and a notification from the landlord, which she ignored completely. "Mom?" Tommy's voice chirped, breaking the silence. He appeared, rubbing his eyes, his pajama pants still slightly askew. "Morning, buddy," she said, forcing a smile. As he moved closer, she noticed the hesitation in his eyes. "Are we still going to be okay?" Her heart squeezed. He was already aware of the tension. "Of course we are. Just going through some adult stuff." She tried to sound reassuring. The last thing she wanted was him feeling the weight of her fears. Tommy's brow knitted together, a look of concern forming. "Like when you said we might not have this house anymore?" She knelt down to his level, wrapping her arms around him tightly. "Listen, kiddo, I promise I'll do everything I can to keep us in our home. Just trust me, okay?" "I trust you, Mom," he whispered, snuggling into her shoulder. But it hurt her to feel the tremble in his little body, and she knew the truth was far more complicated. Breakfast passed in a blur of toast and cereal, both of them lost in their thoughts. Once they finished, Sarah felt a sense of urgency tugging at her. She had to prepare not just for the meeting with the landlord, but for whatever else life might throw at her. She needed a plan. "Why don't you get your things together for the park?" she suggested. "Let's get out for a bit. Fresh air will do us good." Tommy's eyes brightened. "Okay." He dashed away to grab his shoes, and for the first time that day, Sarah felt a sliver of happiness. The park was always a refuge, a place where laughter drowned out fears, if only for a moment. Once outside, they connected with the sprawling green. Laughter from children echoed around her, and she joined in Tommy's joy as he raced off to the swings. But Sarah couldn't shake the looming deadline. She took a moment to sit on a nearby bench, breathing deeply, trying to will anxiety away. A voice pulled her from her thoughts. "Sarah, is that you?" She looked up to see Megan, an old friend from college. "Oh my gosh, it's been forever." They embraced, and for a second, the world outside faded. "You look great. What's new?" Megan asked, sitting beside her. As they caught up, Sarah felt the weight of her struggles pressing against her like a heavy blanket. Should she share? Would it help or make it worse? Just as she opened her mouth to speak, a breakdown of emotions caught in her throat. What she didn't expect was for Tommy to come bounding over, a joyful smile on his face. "Megan, can I have a turn on the swing?" His innocence blurted out the reality of their lives. Megan's smile faltered slightly as she watched the interaction, her eyes searching Sarah's for unspoken words. For a moment, Sarah felt her heart race, as if the truth was dangling just above them, ready to fall. With a tight throat, Sarah took a deep breath. She had to confront her reality. "Actually, can I ask you a favor, Megan?" The weight of her request lingered in the air. Megan only tilted her head to the side, a sign that Sarah's vulnerability would be welcomed. And just as Sarah prepared to share her truth, her phone buzzed again. The landlord's message: "Are you ready for today? Time is running out." Her heart sank, the urgency returning, dragging her into the depths of what lay ahead. Would revealing her fears lead to understanding, or would it only push them further into the unknown? Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the tension in her chest tighten. That message was like a cold slap across her face, pulling her back into the harsh reality she was trying to escape. She couldn't let this moment slip away, not when she had a chance to share her burden with someone who cared. "Megan," she started, her voice barely above a whisper. I really need help." She looked down at her hands, feeling the warmth of Tommy's laughter just out of reach. The park was alive, but she felt frozen in her own experience. "What's going on?" Megan leaned in, concern clouding her features. "You know you can tell me anything." With Tommy happily swinging nearby, Sarah felt the walls close in around her. "It's just, things are really tough right now. I'm worried about losing our home. The landlord wants an answer today, and I'm not sure how to make it work." Megan's expression softened, and she reached out, putting her hand on Sarah's arm. "Have you thought about talking to your family? Maybe they can help." The suggestion stung. Sarah had always prided herself on being self-sufficient, on not burdening her family with her struggles. "I don't want to bother them," she confessed. "They have their own issues." "But Sarah," Megan pressed, "you're not a bother." "They love you. Sometimes support comes from the people we least expect." There was wisdom in her tone, and for a moment, Sarah allowed herself to consider it. Just then, Tommy ran over, bright-eyed and breathless. "Mom, can we stay here longer? I made a new friend." His joy was infectious, yet it sent a sharp pang through Sarah, knowing she was teetering on the edge of a cliff. "Of course, sweetheart," she replied, forcing a smile that didn't quite fit. "But we have to head home soon, okay?" Tommy nodded, his excitement bubbling over as he raced back to the swings. Watching him, she couldn't help but think about what their life would look like if they did lose everything. Could she bear to see that innocent smile fade into confusion and fear? "Sarah," Megan's voice pulled her back, "you need to be honest with him too. Kids feel what we feel. If he knows what's happening, it might ease some of the worry." Pain lanced through her. How do I tell him? His home might not be his home anymore. The words tumbled out, a raw confession of the constant turmoil raging inside. Megan gave her a thoughtful look. Kids are more resilient than we think. It's better to talk about it openly, as long as he knows you're trying your hardest. Tears threatened to spill over, and she quickly blinked them away. "I don't know if I have the strength to do that." "You do," Megan said with a firmness that encouraged Sarah to believe. "You've been strong through so much, and he looks up to you. You're his safety net." As they talked, Sarah felt a small flicker of hope kindling inside her. Maybe she could lean on her friend, lean on family, and learn how to share her fears with Tommy. The thought of being vulnerable still terrified her, but perhaps it was the key to finding a way through the chaos. Thanks, Megan, she said, her voice steadier now. I really appreciate you listening. I just want to keep him safe. Before Megan could respond, Sarah's phone buzzed again with another dreaded notification. She glanced down and her stomach dropped. Looks like my meeting with the landlord is about to start, she said, her heart racing. I have to face this. Every word felt heavy. Let's go together. Megan stood up, determination in her eyes. You don't have to do this alone. Sarah hesitated, but saw the strength in her friend's gaze and nodded. Okay. As they approached the parking lot, her steps felt heavier than ever. Just then, Tommy ran up beside her, his small hand grasping hers tightly. Mom, he asked, looking up with innocent eyes. Are we going to be okay? Sarah took a deep breath, the weight of the moment rising. She wanted to shield him from everything, but also knew this was a pivotal moment for both of them. Let's talk about it after we meet with landlord, all right? She replied, making a mental note that this wasn't just about her anymore. Tommy nodded, still holding on as if he were the one anchoring her to sanity. But in that moment of hesitation, Sarah realized, could fear be transformed into a conversation of hope instead? The uncertainty of the answers loomed around them. What awaited them in that meeting? And how could she reassure her son when she herself was so unsure? As they rounded the corner toward the landlord's office, she took another deep breath. What would she say? And would it be enough to face the truth staring back at her? The atmosphere in the landlord's office was suffocating. Sarah stepped inside, the air heavy with the weight of uncertainty. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. A bland gray carpet stretched under her feet, seemingly absorbing her every tremor of anxiety. Tommy clutched her hand tighter, sensing the tension. He stood by her, his little body filled with innocence, yet his eyes carried an unspoken worry. Mom, is this where we talk to the nice landlord? He asked, tilting his head slightly. Yes, sweetheart, she replied, forcing a smile. But inside, her stomach churned, and she could feel the heaviness of doubt spilling into her voice. Megan walked in behind them, her presence grounding Sarah. She offered a reassuring nod, as if to say, "You've got this." They approached a desk where the landlord, Mr. Sanders, sat, tapping at a keyboard. He looked up, his sharp eyes scrutinizing them. "You're here about the apartment?" he asked, his voice bland and bureaucratic. "Yes," Sarah began, her throat tight. Let's cut to the chase," he interrupted, leaning back in his chair, arms crossed. "I need an answer today." The air buzzed with the enormity of those words. Sarah's heart raced as she fought to form a response. She managed, her voice wavering. Tommy's small voice piped up beside her. "Will we be okay?" His innocent question cut through the office's sterile atmosphere, pulling attention straight to him. Mr. Sanders raised an eyebrow, a hint of surprise flashing across his face. Sarah felt a mix of pride and heartbreak. It was hard enough for her to be strong. She never meant to drag Tommy into their impending fate. "Yes, buddy," she said softly, squeezing his hand. We're trying to figure things out." "Trying?" Mr. Sanders scoffed, his gaze flicking back to Sarah. "Well, that doesn't do much for my schedule. I can't keep waiting around indefinitely." "Please," Sarah urged, her voice rising slightly. "I just need a little more time. I'm doing everything I can." "Doing everything you can doesn't pay the rent," he snapped. Megan stepped forward. "Mr. Sanders, please, we understand your position, but Sarah is a good tenant. A little compassion goes a long way." Their eyes locked for a moment. Sarah could see the flicker of acknowledgement in Mr. Sanders' expression, but it was quickly replaced by indifference. He gestured to a stack of papers on his desk. "Look, you either pay or I have to put the place up for rent. You have 24 hours. "What if," Sarah's voice faltered, "what if I can't come up with that in time? Where will we go?" The powerlessness of those words echoed in the room. Tommy's eyes, bright and trusting, bore into her. She could feel the lump growing in her throat, threatening to choke her. "Where will we live?" It was such a simple question, yet it felt like a bomb had gone off in that small office. She knew that was the core of her fears, laid bare for everyone to see, but she had no answer. "Listen, I don't make the rules," Mr. Sanders replied flatly, unfazed by the emotional weight of her words. "You need to make this decision now." As Sarah stood there, weighing the weight of his ultimatum, the fear and uncertainty washed over her once more. Would they really have to uproot Tommy's life? Just then, Tommy touched her arm gently. "Mom, we can find a new house, right?" His small voice offered a glimpse of innocence amid the storm swirling around them. Sarah held back tears. "Yes, we can," she said, but deep inside she wasn't sure if she meant it. With one last look at Mr. Sanders, who was already shifting his focus back to his computer, Sarah turned back to Tommy. "Can we talk for a moment, buddy?" They stepped outside into the corridor, the hum of the office fading behind them. Tommy looked up with expectant eyes, his little heart trusting her completely. "Mom, are we going to be okay?" he asked again, needing assurance. "Sweetheart," Sarah began, but her voice trailed off. The truth hung in the air around them, a pressing weight. What could she say? How could she make him believe in a future that felt so precarious? "Let's sit for a minute, okay?" she suggested, finding a nearby bench. As they sat, Sarah fought the tears threatening to spill. She wanted to give him hope, to tell him they would find a way through. But everything was so uncertain. "Tommy," she paused, gathering her thoughts. How could she navigate this conversation with the honesty he deserved? Just as she opened her mouth to speak, a figure appeared in the distance, a man in a suit, looking lost. He was scanning the office like he was searching for something. Could he be the answer to her unspoken pleas? "Who is that?" Tommy asked, pointing. Sarah squinted at the newcomer. "I don't know, but I think we might need to find out." Her heart raced again, this time with the thrill of unexpected possibility. What lay ahead? Would this stranger bring another twist to their story? The man in the suit drew closer, his expression flickering between determination and concern. Sarah's heart pounded. She had faced landlords, eviction notices, and financial worries, but here was an unexpected chance, a glimpse of hope hidden behind a stranger's serious demeanor. "Excuse me," he said, his voice steady as he reached them. "Are you Sarah? I got a call about a potential housing situation." Sarah blinked rapidly, her mind racing. "Yes, that's me. How did you know?" "I'm Eric from the local housing support program," he explained quickly. "I just met with your landlord. They mentioned a family needing assistance. I was hoping to speak with you about resources available to help in your situation." Tommy tugged on her hand, wide-eyed. "Mom, is he here to help us?" "Yes, buddy," she whispered, her heart fluttering with cautious optimism. "That's exactly what he's here for." Eric smiled gently, kneeling down to their level. "I'm here to see how we can help ensure you and your son have a safe place to live. I understand things are complicated right now." Sarah felt her chest tighten. Complicated is an understatement. The landlord just gave me 24 hours to pay the rent or we're out. I have an interview for a new job, but she bit her lip, feeling weary. I don't know if that will come through in time. I want to keep our home. Eric held her gaze, and the sincerity in his eyes ignited a tiny spark of hope. "You don't have to make it through this alone. We have funds set aside for families in crisis. We want to help you navigate this until you're back on your feet. I can guide you through the application process." Tears filled Sarah's eyes. In that moment, the weight of her struggles felt a little lighter. Can you really help us? Absolutely, Eric's voice was firm. I'll help you talk to the landlord, and we'll set up a meeting for the application today. You deserve the chance to breathe, to focus on stabilizing your situation. Tommy's eyes sparkled with curiosity. Will this help us stay in our home? Can we keep living here? Yes, Eric replied, smiling warmly. We'll do everything we can to ensure you stay where you belong. Sarah felt as if the walls that had been closing in around her were finally starting to expand. She glanced down at Tommy, who looked back up at her with a mix of hope and optimism, and for the first time in ages, she felt her heart swell with promise instead of fear. Let's get moving, Eric said, rising up. I'll contact your landlord and get this moving quickly. Oh, thank you, Sarah breathed, unable to contain the swell of gratitude. So how about we celebrate? Tommy piped up, his smile growing wider. Can we get some ice cream later? Laughter bubbled out from Sarah. Absolutely, kiddo, but first, let's get this done. As they navigated their conversation with Eric about the right steps, Sarah felt the burden of uncertainty slip away. Hope began to weave through her heart like a thread, connecting them back home. In that moment, she recognized how much her community mattered. The friends, the strangers, the hidden support that had been waiting for her to reach out. She glanced back at Tommy, who pulled her forward with joyful excitement, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she envisioned a brighter future. In an unexpected turn of events, the darkness that had blanketed them began to lift, revealing a new dawn filled with the laughter of possibility. With every step forward, Sarah knew that no matter what the next few days held, they were not alone. You need to subscribe now so you won't miss out on these incredible stories. This is the moment to show your support by hitting that like button. Your engagement truly makes a difference. Comment below with how this story impacted you and let us know your thoughts. Don't wait, not even one more second, to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this transformation. Your support helps our community grow.